Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Friendship Fridays. Your favorite bestie, Giovanni G, is here to bring you another segment to the Faces of Caregiving series, episode 2. These are pre-recorded interviews of caregivers from all different walks of life to give their perspective and knowledge in hopes to help someone else that's encountering this journey, right? Tonight's episode is an interview with a beautiful soul that I met in a group that I'm a part of called Girls Genius, a shameless plug. And she had a very similar story to mine's. And she gave me advice and encouragement because at that time when I first met her, my mom was just moving into my house and me adjusting to being a caregiver. And she had been there, done that. So she was very encouraging and helping me along the way. And when I decided to take the leap to start my channel and I shared it with the group, he immediately signed up to be a guest, to be a speaker, to hopefully help someone, help one of the viewers just with this journey and what it looks like. So, Bestie community, give a big welcome to Halimah. How are you doing today, Halimah?
I'm doing so great. Thank you so much, Giovanni, for having me today.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited that you came on. And I want you today in this conversation, we're just two friends having a conversation.
Yep.
You can be as transparent as you want to be. We can be surface or we can go deep. Whatever way you want to go, we can go.
All right.
Your testimony, just go into this space knowing that your testimony will help someone in this YouTube universe, this bestie community that I'm building. And the rules are just simple. There's no such thing as a long answer. And there's no such thing as going off topic. We're going to go wherever this journey takes us, wherever the higher power takes us to go to deliver the message. Okay. We
Okay.
have 30 minutes or less to get into the trenches of caregiving. And so we're going to roll up our sleeves and hop right in.
Okay.
So, can you tell the viewers what your journey was on being a caregiver? Like, how did you end up being a caregiver?
Okay. So I like what you said as far as a support caregiver, because there are people that are full-time caregivers, like my mom. She's the full-time caregiver of my father. And I do play a supporting role just like my other siblings. So I do want to share the journey. This is a journey that started actually in 2010. So in 2010, I was in the chemistry class. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in college and I was in chemistry class. And at the time, I was studying for my nutrition degree, culinary nutrition to be particular, at Johnson& Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. And I'm in
Mhm.
class and my phone is going off. So I'm like, okay. And my mom, she texts me, and my mom is not like a long texter. She's more so like a pick up the phone type of person. But everybody knew my class schedule. Normally I'm not available during the day and things like that. So people did text me normally, then give me a call. So she texted me, and I did have a missed call from her. I had a missed call, and then I had a text message. So I looked at the text message, and it was a long text message, and it said, I just remember, I don't remember word for word, but that was 14 years ago. But the gist of the text message and what really stuck out to me is that your dad stopped breathing. So
Oh,
like
wow.
that is something that is still in my mind to this day. To see a text message to say that your dad stopped breathing, he's in a coma. I don't want you to be alarmed, but I definitely wanted you to be in the loop. And Unfortunately, he suffered a massive stroke. He's in the hospital, and just call me when you get a chance. So that was the gist of the text message. And immediately, I asked the teacher, in college you can kind of do your own thing, but this particular
Right,
teacher was very strict in the way in which we had to ask to leave the class. And I'm just like,
right.
okay. So I asked the teacher, I said, can I step out for a moment? And she's like, oh, we're about to take a test. And I said, I need to step out for a moment. And she said, we're about to take a test. I said, I packed up all my things and I left. And
Oh,
because
that's
I'm
right.
like, paying your salary, and not to be
I'm paying to
arrogant
be
in
here.
that way, but I
Right.
need to go. Like, I need to go. My dad is in a coma. Like, I need to be with my family.
Right.
So I packed up all my things. I drove down my Plymouth Neon, my 1994 Plymouth Neon. I drove from Providence, Rhode Island to New Jersey that very day. That very
Wow.
day. And I'm just on the road, just bawling, like tears. Like I had to call my mom and she filled me in with the details and she was like, no, you don't have to come right now. There's nothing you can do. He's, where the doctors are, trying to figure out what happened and all these different things. And she's telling me what actually happened. They used to take a walk every morning. And
Okay.
my dad has always been an entrepreneur ever since I was a kid. So they took a walk that particular morning and my mom went off to work. And so my dad usually calls her around like lunchtime. They're like, that's
Okay.
their little thing. So he calls her around lunchtime and he didn't call her that particular day. So she didn't think anything of it. She went on with her work day. And then around, the early afternoon, one of his best friends called and was like, oh, I'm trying to get in. My dad's name is Naeem. I'm trying to get in contact with Naeem. And I called the house. I called the house phone, I couldn't even contact with him. So she was like, yeah, he didn't call me at lunchtime either. I don't know what's going on. So he went by, he said, I'm just going to stop by. So he went by the house. And at the time we lived in the suburbs, our doors were always unlocked. So
That was it ended up being a blessing. It ended up being a
blessing.
blessing.
He
Yeah.
went inside and he saw him, passed out in their bedroom. And he
Oh,
called the
wow.
ambulance and the ambulance came and got him. They weren't able to revive him on site. As far as him breathing, he was still breathing.
Right.
But as far as like his consciousness, they weren't able to revive his consciousness during that time. So he did, go to the hospital and he was actually in a coma for 3 months. So yeah, so it was very
Wow.
devastating. It was very sudden. It wasn't anything like, he was going through health challenges and this came about. It was a very sudden thing. So yeah, it was a lot.
Okay.
It was a lot.
And so with that being said, it ended up being a blessing that your doors was unlocked and you was in the burbs because he could have passed away in the home,
Yes.
by himself.
Right.
And it's a blessing that somebody was reaching out for him, looking for him.
Yeah.
Which is also good because your mom probably didn't think none of it. We just missed the call today.
Yeah.
And it would have been all the way until she got home from work. So that is, wow, that's such an interesting story. And it just, somebody found them. And that is a blessing. So since all of that happened, after the 3 months of a coma, what happened next? Like, what was the next phase of your new duties or your new normal?
Yeah. So I actually got the blessing to be able to graduate early. So that was technically my senior year. So that was, I believe it was August. No, it was September. I don't know what month of the year it was, but anyway, I got to graduate early. So I was going home every weekend because I did have a car at college. So I was able to go home every weekend because my mom, even when my dad was in a coma, my mom went to the hospital every single day. So after work, she went to the hospital every single day just to make sure, they were treating him right and everything like that. And my mom is literally the strongest person that I know because at the time she was working in Philadelphia and we lived in New Jersey. And so she was making the commute and she didn't have a car at the time. So she had to take several buses, not only to get from her job to the hospital, but then the hospital to our house. And that was before the time of Uber, so it was very much so like, that's her husband, so she was doing everything she had to do. And I was coming home every weekend, to be able to, or as much as I could, as far as to be able to help her and support her during that time. Sorry, hold on. That's right. I was trying to put my phone on airplane mode so that it wouldn't be any disturbance. So I apologize about that.
It's okay.
But yeah, so during that time, so I was able to graduate early and basically like it was a new normal, it was different. My dad, to know my dad prior to his stroke, he was a man's man. He was very masculine. He was very like, I don't need any help with anything. He wasn't, he didn't, he didn't he didn't ask for help. He didn't do any of these things. So to see him in this almost like childlike state was very emotional, right? So the road to recovery was him having to learn how to speak again. He was nonverbal for months, even after the coma. So when he woke up, after the coma, he was not able to speak. He wasn't able to eat on his own. He wasn't able to walk. So it was going to the hospital and seeing him in this way was very, very traumatizing in a way, and it was, many prayers that happened to just, to get better and to be able to just communicate because, once somebody is in this state, you don't know what they need. You can do the
Right.
best that you
Yeah.
can during that
Especially when
time
they're nonverbal.
where they're
You're
nonverbal.
playing
Exactly.
charades.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
exactly.
playing charades. You
It's like
point
you don't
at
know if they're in
everything.
pain. You don't know if they're, okay. I mean, he was able
Right.
to nod his head and things like that, but being able to be mobile. And my dad is just like me in a way. I'm always going somewhere. Like he was
Right.
always on the go. So to see a completely different person, it was very, very traumatizing in that way. And then even after, so the steps of recovery went from him being in a coma to him being in the hospital and doing rehab in the hospital, as
Okay.
far as learning how to walk again, talk, being able to eat on his own, and then to be able to come home. But then there was a whole nother set of challenges that happened once
Once
he
he
was
came
able
home.
to come home. Just because we none of us in our family had any experience with caregiving, like caring for a
Okay.
person, a whole
Right.
adult. You know what I mean? Like
So no one had nursing background or a
no,
healthcare background. So
no.
everybody was like baptismal by fire.
By fire. It was a culture shock for
Right.
everyone involved. So just being able to understand, and then if people are unaware about a stroke, it deals with your brain, right? So
Right.
the oxygen at a point in time did not go to that person's brain, right? So they
Right.
had the adverse effect of losing consciousness or losing feeling in their face or whatever the case may be. Everybody has a different reaction to it, but
Right.
understanding that when oxygen doesn't go to your brain, there is lasting effect to that. There are
Right.
things that you remember to do, like just social things, like um going from crying to laughing or laughing to crying,
Yeah.
things like that, like having outrageous urges to just, eat a ton of food or, being able to just say outlandish things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Because
there's a
it makes like an impulsiveness. Like I've noticed with my
exactly,
mom's stroke, she has like this impulse to do, and it's like, why would you would normally never do that? Like
exactly,
where does
exactly.
that come from? But it's
Yeah,
an impulse,
yeah.
and it's the emotional part. Like they'll be smiling, and then it's just a breakdown of tears, and you're like, wait, what?
What's
Did
going
something happen?
on?
Are you in pain? And then they can't really express,
Yes,
but that's
yes,
all with the brain not receiving the oxygen it
yeah,
needed,
yeah,
and it has,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle for everybody. And I'm the baby of the family. So I was the one left, like, still in the household. My older
okay,
siblings, my two older brothers were already moved out and married. My sister was already moved out. She had a child. So it's just the thing, I was just me, my mom, and my dad, in the home. So
okay,
it was a very challenging time as far as just this person that because I'm a daddy's girl. So for
right,
this person that you just viewed as like a superhero, to
right.
be so dependent on your care, it was a
Mhm.
very, very challenging time. And it was almost I equated to it, and it's kind of hard to have this idea, but it's almost like a grieving process, right?
Yes,
Because the person is
definitely.
still there, you're like, how why am I feeling like I'm mourning? Like why am I
Yeah,
feeling like I'm grieving this person as if they're not here? I see them every day. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I see them, I
But the
talk to them,
person that you knew
that
doesn't exist,
doesn't
and they will
exist.
never exist
They will
again.
never exist again. Yeah.
Never. So you're grieving every day because I'm in that process now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yeah,
And
so it's
the thing about grief is there's no timeline on it,
right.
and
Yeah,
there's because the process of healing, there's ebb and flows. So there's moments that are better than others, there's moments that are worse
right.
than others, right? So
Yeah,
the moments that are better than others, you're like, oh my goodness, they're getting better.
better.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, they're coming back.
and
And
then
it's
you
like
get a setback. And then
you
a
get a
setback, you're like,
setback. It's like,
wait,
wait a minute. So it's like you're almost being re-traumatized every single
every time.
time you
Yes,
go
yes,
into the valley of a bad moment or a
right,
struggling moment or a challenging moment. And sometimes with death, it's finite. It's the end of it. You can just
right,
that person is no longer in the physical realm, so you can grieve and you can have those emotions be kind of set in place as to how that
right.
process is going to be. But with a person that's still here, it's like okay, are they getting better? Is this hope? Is
Yeah.
this the light at the end of the tunnel? Or,
Right. That's
so
right.
it's just the hold on to that sometimes can be a detriment to the people that are the caretakers, because to understand, you almost have to do a trick of the mind to understand that that
Yeah.
person is no longer here, even though they're
Yeah. Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you celebrate the victories, but then when there's a sit back, it's like it's devastation because it's
Yeah.
like, wait, you forgot how to walk again? Like how I thought we were doing good. So
Right, right, right.
yeah, yeah.
I thought you had remembered that part,
I thought you remember that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So simple things like, at least with my mom, her wiping herself and then do something with her mouth. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, what are we doing? You just wiped yourself. We got to wash our hands first. And her not
Right,
triggering to wash your hands first before you do something with your mouth. And it was just
right.
like, so yeah, you have these victories and then it's like these conquering moments, these defeat
Yeah,
moments. Yeah, it's
for
just the up
sure.
and down. So since you have siblings and they all have their own families, did they help you like divvy up that supportive role for your mom, or was it just solely on you because you didn't at the time have a family and you were the person in the house?
Yeah. So the majority of the time at the beginning was more so me and my mom.
Okay.
Just because we were still in New Jersey and everybody had moved to Pennsylvania. So moved to
Okay.
Philadelphia. And if you're not familiar with that, I know you are, but as far as the listeners, the distance is probably about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on what part of
Right.
the city you live in. So on like a day-to-day basis, it was more so just my mom and I, but they did come and assist as well, throughout that time
Okay.
also to alleviate some things. And then now more so with my mom and my dad now living in Philadelphia, it's more of a it's still the majority of my mother, but there are more people around to assist
To help
with
her.
different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
To
So
like support her.
like when she went to Jamaica. My family does like a family vacation in Jamaica every 2 years, and I wasn't able to go, so I was able to come here to Philadelphia. I live in Chicago, but I was able to come here to Philadelphia to help, take
She
care
can
of my
go.
dad. So yeah, so
Yeah,
she can go
because the
afterwards
caregivers need a self-care. Like
for
they
sure.
need a moment to, because it drains you. It takes everything from you. So that's very good that you're
Yeah,
able to give your mom that moment to have like normalcy or
yeah,
a moment of back in the day where she
right,
doesn't
yeah,
have to really worry about
worry,
him. Yeah, she can just have a good time with her family and friends. So that was good.
yeah,
So how did you feel during this season of caregiving? I know it's been a long journey with yours, longer than mine. So
yeah,
what was your array of emotions in
yeah,
this season?
yeah. So it's so funny because like moments in my life that um you I would have my dad there. So like I got married, but I got married in Mexico. So my dad wasn't able to come. So like, the walking down the aisle thing and certain pivotal moments that my dad is not able to. I live in Chicago, so he's not able to travel. So him,
Right,
being able to see my house in Chicago and things like that. So it's been a wide array of emotion. I know at the beginning it was very, very hard. Like that grieving process and those peaks and valleys were very, very challenging. And my dad is very headstrong. So sometimes a portion of it is like, is this the stroke or is this you? You know what I mean? Like,
right. Who's showing up today? Who's
today,
doing
right?
this?
Exactly. So it's like this defiancy, this like, wanting to be stubborn on what you want to do. Is this, where is this coming from? So trying to like tread lightly with that and being respectful, because that's still my dad at the end of the day,
Right,
even though it is more so of a the characteristics are like childlike, he's still my father at the end of the day. So being able to be respectful in that way. But I am human and there are some times that I get upset and it's just like,
right,
why are you doing this and what is going on and that doesn't make sense and all things like that. So and then sometimes I do break down and I am emotional and I do cry and I am longing for
mhm,
the times of the past, and I'm just like, God, I've seen people recover from strokes and
right.
they're fine the next month, and
So
like and it's like the compare and contrast, because my
yes,
friend in college, her dad actually had a stroke and he's just like, he owns a farm and he's out on the farm and he's cutting the grass and he's
yeah,
just doing everything
yeah,
normal. And it's just like, well, that's not your story, that's not your journey,
right,
everybody is different. So just understanding that everybody's experience is unique to themselves, and then always just understanding that this is a grieving process, and it's okay. And it's okay to view it that way. And it's okay
Right.
to still be in mourning for a person that's still alive. It's okay
Right.
to still mourn the relationship you had with a person, and they're still physically able. Like, I can still come and I can still hug my dad and I can talk to him and
Right.
things like that. And those are the moments that I enjoy and I hold on to. So I think that just giving yourself grace as well too, because I think, when my mom does need a break, it's okay for her to have a break. It's okay for her to call us and
Yeah.
ask us to come and support her in that way. And then
And
sometimes,
not feeling guilty about it, not feeling guilty
exactly,
about having the
exactly,
break
yeah,
or requesting the break, and the
exactly,
people that's coming in to relieve you, not making you feel guilty because you need a break.
exactly,
Like,
yeah,
so
for
all the
sure,
moving pieces of that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
So, okay. And in this process, did you ever have to seek therapy? And why? How did you know you needed to turn to therapy if you needed therapy? And since your process was so long.
yeah. So for me, it's so funny. I remember this time that I just like came downstairs to my husband and I just like cried, just cried to him, and I just
Right.
like weep because I'm just like, I'll never get my dad back.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like I never thought like
It just hit you one day. It just
there's
hit you.
always a before and there's always an after, right?
Right. Hmm.
There are split the second decisions that make your life different.
Yes.
It can be
Yes.
something a car accident. It can be something like this with a stroke, and your life is just going as it is, and the trajectory of your life is going as it is, and it just stops, and
Boom.
it just
Yeah.
it just turns off course, and it's completely different. So,
Yes.
I haven't sought out professional therapy, but I am very, my husband is very supportive of me in this process, and just even being able to talk to my mom about it and not burden her too much because she is the full-time
Right.
caregiver. But just, expressing some things to her as well. And then I do have my sister. My sister and I are very close. So just talking about some off
Right.
the wall stuff that my dad does. Like, sometimes you just have to laugh because it's just like, why would you do that?
And like, oh yeah, why would you do that? Told you to
So,
do that. Why? Why?
but I think us trying to make sense out of it will drive us insane
Yes.
eventually. You
Yes.
know what I mean?
Yes,
So
and that's where I'm at, because I was like, I feel like I'm losing my mind because I'm trying to make sense
yeah,
of all this and
yeah,
why. And like you said, you're comparing other people, because I've known
yeah,
people that their stroke lasted 3 months and they up
right,
running around and they like, oh yeah, I had a stroke,
right,
and you're like, wait, well we're a year in. Why?
right.
God,
What's
what's
going
the
on?
lesson? Because we
Yeah,
we a whole year in, and
yeah,
Susie just had it for 3 months. Like, how she
yeah,
getting out the car, she driving herself. I just saw her in Walmart. How,
right,
yeah, she got a
yeah,
cane. She got a
yeah,
cane,
yeah,
but other than that,
yeah,
so yeah, the comparison that's what's the stage that I'm in, the grief and the comparison, because I'm like, I didn't know it was going to be this long,
yeah,
and how long it's going to be. Like, can
yeah.
I get like a glimpse of the end of the tunnel or some light or something,
Right,
a
like a
lifeline? Can I get
sprinkle,
a
like a
lifeline?
yeah. And I heard the quote, I don't know who said this, but comparison is the thief of all joy. So
Right,
we getting stuck in that cycle of like looking outside of to even comparing them to their old self. I think even
right,
they compare and contrast to who they used to be before this happened. And to also think about it is that we're on the outside looking in. Imagine what they're going through.
yeah,
They
yeah,
don't they will never lead a normal life again, or they may never lead. Not saying they won't, but they may never lead a normal life to them of who they're used to being. So I can only
right,
imagine. I can, ask for a break. Like, so if my mom's the primary caregiver, she can ask for a break and have somebody come in. I can come in when I need to support, but
right,
they're dealing with this 24/7, seven
yeah,
days a week. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's just
yeah,
like, thank God, they have accepted it, because my dad for a long time he didn't accept it, and I think that kind of stifled his rehabilitation as well,
recovery, yeah,
because it's that I could imagine he was having almost like an outer body experience,
yeah,
because it's
yeah.
like, this is not happening to me, so it's
How could this
the,
be? My daughter has to wipe my butt, or my
yeah,
wife has to wipe
exactly,
my butt.
yeah,
Like, that
yeah,
it's a culture shock. It's like, wait, what?
exactly,
Like,
right, yeah.
right.
So we
Or my
still
daughter
have our
has to feed
dignity,
me.
and yeah, we still have our dignity in the way in which we can do these things for ourselves, but with them,
Right.
they have to rely on other people for
Someone else.
everything,
Yeah.
everything. And then even with him being in a coma, it was 3 months of his life that just
Boring.
he was not aware of.
Yeah.
So it's just to be able to give them grace as well and to understand that, yes, it's challenging. Like to have to be responsible for a whole nother adult is challenging. But it's like, wow, can you imagine if that was your life
Yeah.
and you had to
Yeah.
go through that every single day? And it's like you
That was
can't snap out of it. You know what I mean? Like you
yeah.
can't. I'm for sure that they remember who they used to be too. And it's like
Right.
I'm for sure that they're struggling to try to get back to that too. And I'm for sure that they have a certain level of grief that they have to go through, like the grieving process
Yeah.
that they have to go to understand that they can't do the things that they used to do. Like my dad, he
Right.
used to always try to like go outside because my dad he loved like just going places, so he would try to go outside and I'm like, Dad, you can, there's steps in front of the house, you cannot go outside.
Right. You just can't go outside
You
of
just can't go, you just can't
because
go.
he's bound to a wheelchair.
No, he's not, he can walk, but he
Okay,
has
he
to
won't.
have, yeah, he can walk, and so but long distance he would have to have his walker, or they advise him to have a walker or a cane, but he can walk,
Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
That's good. So he did regain walking.
He regained
That's good.
walking, talking. He's able to feed himself. He is self-sufficient, just not for long periods of time. Like he can't travel for
Okay.
long periods of time. And then he developed some other health issues along the way just for his
Right.
mobility and things like that. So
Okay.
but he can walk, and but just
Oh,
I think
that's
that
good.
sometimes his mind gets ahead of his body. So as far as
Right.
like, he'll try to take, I'm like, that you cannot just
Just take
take
off like
off
that.
walking like a speed
Right.
demon.
You cannot do that anymore, sir. You
Right.
cannot.
Yeah. 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 So I just to give them grace and to understand that, they are dealing with this 24/7, whereas we can get a break, and go on
Right.
and try to lead somewhat of a normal life. And they, they have to deal with it 24/7. So
Yes. A friend of mine said my new role is to train the trainer, meaning my mom taught me everything I know from speaking, reading, bathing, morals. And now, as her child, I must teach her, the parent, the same things. I'm sure you have experienced that. And how did that make you feel? And were you struggling with it?
yeah. So like I said, as far as like it being my dad, it was just like, excuse me, certain things you're like, you should know this. Like you should know
Right.
not to, to like you were talking about with the napkin. So as far as like wiping yourself. So after you use the bathroom, you have to wash your hands, So like
Yeah.
things like that, or like you can't you can't drink milk and orange juice at the same time. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
different things like that. And it's just like, or just now actually. So my mom puts together like lunch for him before she leaves for work. And he
Right.
was trying to eat his lunch at 10 o'clock. And I said, Dad, you cannot eat your lunch at 10 o'clock.
Right.
You have to wait until, maybe like 12 or 1 to eat lunch because you just had breakfast at 8 o'clock. So it's
Right.
like, different things like that. And it's just, it can be a challenge sometimes to like constantly remind somebody, and especially if they're not receptive to it, because right now he's more receptive to it. But before he was very challenging of it. It's like, I can do whatever I want whenever I want type of thing. And it's like
Right.
I was gonna go raid the cabinets, or eat everything in the refrigerator.
Right. You can't do that
So
anymore,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. So yeah, so being able to look at it through the lens of like almost like thinking about it like a child, but having the respect of it still
Right.
being an adult and being being my father. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, so what have you and your siblings done to prepare in the event you have to do this for your mom? Like, since you went through this
Wow.
life-changing event, have you guys prepared for what it looks like if your mother goes down?
Wow. No, we
Okay.
haven't. That
Okay.
is a really good question. That is a
Okay.
really good question. No, we haven't. We haven't. That's yeah.
And maybe, and
Yeah,
that's,
this is
I'm glad I
something.
brought that up because I
Yeah.
know my very first episode was talking about having a conversation.
Yeah.
And
And I
being
remember
that
that
your mother
episode.
has been a caregiver for so long, what's in play for her? Because
Right.
the wear of the body as a caregiver, we have wear and tear. It's times I don't sleep,
Mm,
it's times that I'm not eating, and I'm already preparing for my own child because of
mm.
such a tragic event. It's like, what's going to be in place for her so she don't have to do this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I implore to encourage you to your siblings get together and say, what does it look like if this happened to mom? Because you guys
Right.
have been in such a long journey with your dad, which has been
Yeah.
about a decade or so.
Yeah.
Um, what would that look like if it was your mom? Not to wish anything on your mom,
Yeah. No, for
but it's
sure.
just simple planning. Like
Yeah.
who does what? Because now you're in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it ain't on me like it was with dad.
Yeah.
Who's taking the ball now? Who is the
Right.
ball goes to? Because me and my family are starting in Chicago.
Yeah.
Just something to, just like a seed, and it's
No,
not,
that's a
it's
great
not
question.
negative energy.
No,
It's not
no, no,
negative
no, yeah.
energy. It's
This,
just a definite seed because now you all have families. You're out
yeah.
of college. You have a husband now. They got kids. What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm a caregiver with a kid, so it's a whole different beast
Yeah.
because you have to still parent your child, and
Right.
now you're parenting your parent.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
those things, it like you said, is the
They require
impulsiveness
different
or want to go
things.
outside. Yeah, two
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
Because you still have to respect your parent. You can't yell at them. So
Yeah.
sometimes you yell at them, like,
Right.
yo, it's
Right. You
fence
can't
right
do that.
there.
Right. Yeah.
Not do that. Like,
Yeah.
so just having the plan together and the paperwork in place and understanding who's going to do what. Because it's what,
Yeah.
4 or 5 of you guys?
It's four of us. Yeah.
It's 4 of us. Like, who's going to take shifts? I'm all the way in
Yeah.
Chicago, so I need to be probably the last call. But I
Yeah.
can fly in, like, how does that work?
Yeah.
So just something to think about.
No,
And
that's
that's a
good.
simple conference call. That's a simple text. Like, hey guys, mom been doing this for about 15 years. So what we doing if this happens again? Like, what does
Yeah.
this look like?
Yeah. And then even having
And
because she is well now, her are
yeah,
part of the conversation and where her wishes are. Because
right.
I think a lot of times what happens with any illness, it's not something that is well thought out and well planned out, but
Right.
it is something that could be. It's
Yeah.
something that the strategy and the planning, as you talk about on your other episodes, can happen prior to anything happening to well
Yeah.
people. And to be
Right.
able to have that prior to, and it now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, damn, like it's been almost 15 years and we haven't had this conversation, which is
Patient.
neglectful on our behalf because,
Right.
we have seen this, so it wasn't something that was, we had a pre warning for and, we were able to, adjust during that way. It was something that just happened immediately that can
Right.
happen to anyone. So,
Yeah, because he
that's
was
really
he
good.
was pretty healthy. He went on
Yeah.
walks every day. This
Right.
just up out the blue happened, and it's just
Yeah.
something to really like think about on the sense of it can just up and happen.
Right.
And
For
then
sure.
what does that look like? And even with the wishes, I had an aunt of mine's, me and my cousin was talking, and she was like, "Oh yeah, she wants to be cremated." And I looked over at my aunt, I'm like, "You want to be cremated?" She was like, "Yeah," but I didn't know that. But that's a wish that
That
you
she
need to
had.
honor.
Yeah.
And if you don't know if your parent really want that, and she was like, "Yeah, I don't want them to spend the money on my funeral." It made sense. I was like,
Yeah.
"You're right," because you're getting into all this debt, and that's
Yeah.
not your body. The flesh is gone. It's just the flesh. Blah blah blah. So I was like, wow. But then people in the family would have been upset, not
Right. Had you
knowing
done
that
it
those
without.
was her wishes. But her
Right.
daughter knew,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? So just even having a conversation with your mom, do you have a DNR? Do you want that? Do you want to
Right.
be on machines? Do you want them to do just having that part? And
Right.
because it may be one of the siblings that's fighting. One of my interview before, my very first interview, they have one sibling that's not of agreement. They've been
Yeah.
in probate since 2021.
Yeah.
It's for them. The fact that one person is not and you're still paying is mind-boggling because
Right.
we could have already divvied this out.
Right. It
What
could have
do you
been
do for
done. Yeah.
this?
And we can just go in our
Right.
grieving
So,
process for our parents. Yeah.
right, to have it together and now for 3 years in, you still got the government in your business.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of just having a conversation to know what your mom want, what she don't want,
Right.
what sibling wants what. So then y'all not clashing in a crisis.
Right. Right. For sure.
Yeah. So okay. And
Good for
my
that.
final question to you is on your closing words, can you give the viewers a priceless gem that you learned from this entire almost 15-year process? Is there something, if you had a time machine and could go back in time, what you would have done differently? Is it something that you can give the viewers that may help them prepare? Because most
Mhm.
people, we all think we got a lot of time, but
Yeah.
we really don't. Tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah.
So if you anything, it doesn't have to be deep, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
drastic, but just something you've learned that you want to pass on.
I would say two words, love and grace. Right.
Okay.
So normally when you're a caregiver for someone, that is your loved one. You love them. You they hold a special place in your heart, whether it's a husband, a wife, a mom, a dad, a child, or anything like that. Those are your loved ones. So no matter what the situation is, no matter what's going on, no matter what annoyances are happening, no matter what confusing things are happening, no matter what maybe disrespectful things are happening from that person, you love them and they love you. Right. So to be able to just lead with love and to always try to remain positive and in that track of this is my loved one. This is my loved one. This is my loved one.
Grace. You have to remind yourself, I love him.
I love you.
I love her.
I love you.
Her for real.
And more importantly, I know that you love me.
Right.
I know that you love me. And
right.
even if you're not displaying it at this very moment, I know that you love me. You love me and I love you. And because I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. You know what I mean?
No, you wouldn't. This ain't the life you sign up for.
Right, exactly.
Give me 2 caregivers, please. I want to supersize it. No.
Supersize it. And then grace. So being able to give yourself grace, you're not perfect. You're human. You're going to have those moments when you're very much so in your human state. And you're going to be annoyed. You're going to be upset. You're going to be angry. You're going to be sad. You're going to be frustrated.
You're going
to be grieving. You're going to be mourning. You're going to have all of these emotions at one time. You're going to be void of emotions at times. You know what I mean? Like, so there are going to be so many things that you're going to go through, and just to give yourself grace to be able to understand that this is what's happening right now. I'm not trying to get out of what's happening right now. This is what's happening right now. So if I'm crying and I'm sad, I'm crying and I'm sad. And that's what I'm going to be doing right now. I'm not pushing past this moment because I need to sit in this moment to just get through the moment. You know, a lot of times people try to go around storms and all this type of stuff and I heard this quote of just go through the storm. You'll make it on the other side. It'll be okay. Because the time you take to try to go around and try to figure it out another way, you could have just went through the storm and got it over. You know what I mean?
So snatch off the Band-Aid.
Exactly. And then also give your loved one grace. Like I said, they are dealing with this disease, this illness, this condition 24/7. They don't get to get a break. They don't get to leave it and go on vacation. They don't get to ask for someone to help out. They don't get to, give the particular thing to another person for a moment, a day, an hour, a second. They have to live with it 24/7, 365. So being able to give them grace too, because I'm for sure if they could choose, it wouldn't be this life either.
It wouldn't be. Yes. So that was a good word today. I want to thank you for joining me tonight, Halimah, and the viewers. I appreciate your openness and your willingness to get deep into it and show the behind the scenes of being a supportive role caregiver and switching off, helping your mom. Sometimes you was a full caregiver for her to go out of town. So the passing of the baton, so to speak. And everyone watching, make sure you tune in on next Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to see another point of view interview. And this series will be all different voices and putting a face to caregiving, because all of our stories are different, but some of us are pretty much the same. And so I want you to have a good night. Please take something away from the testimonies of others, and I will see you next week. Your favorite bestie is signing off. Thank you, Halimah.
Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you so much for having me. This was so great.
Yes, this was so great. Bye. See you guys next week.